Number of tests yesterday were just under 50,000 tests. It was a Sunday, so the sample is always a little different on a Sunday, but 50,000 tests is an extraordinary number. We still test more than any state in the nation per capita, more than any nation on the globe. And what does that mean? It means we're making informed decisions. We know where we are because we're taking 50,000 tests. Just think about that. Every day, 60,000 tests someday. The positive rate is about 1%. That's where we've been, so we're holding steady. We'd like to see it at 0, obviously, but 1% is very good, so that is good news. You look across the regions of the state, we see good news all across the regions. No warning signs or no trouble spots. Same is true in New York City. We have a little tick up in the Bronx that we'll watch, but Sundays we often tend to get slight deviations. But the progress is all very good. So we did the impossible as New Yorkers. They really stepped up and conquered the COVID virus. Now we just have to stay there. We have to protect the progress that we have made. You see the numbers, you see where we are. Our goal now is to stay there and not let that infection rate tick up. We are not in a static environment. A lot is going on. So we have to remain vigilant. We have two main threats. The first threat is the number of congregations that we're seeing across the state, but especially in downstate, primarily of young people. I have talked about this before. We saw it again over the weekend, and it is a problem. It is a problem. We know enough about this virus to know that there are inevitable consequences to our actions. If you have congregations of people, they are going to spread the virus. Now, many of these congregations tend to be young people. And young people, as a general rule, believe they're superheroes. I understand. I was a young person once, just last week. Okay, maybe not last week. Well, we can't get sick. First of all, that's not a fact. There are facts, and then there are wrong pieces of information. You can get sick in your 20s. You can get sick. You can die in your 20s. People have. Even if you live by the theory of you're a superhero, you will take the virus and you will give it to someone else. Unless you live in a hermetically sealed bubble, that will happen. You will go home and you will transfer it to someone else who will transfer it to someone else. And you could kill someone. So from an aspect of any social responsibility at all, it's not just about you. It's not just about you. It's about who you could infect and who you could hurt. And it has continued unabated, and it's getting worse. And I am telling you, it is a problem. It's not a new problem, but it is growing. To the partiers who come out, I understand the frustration. I understand you've been inside for a long time. I understand you're young. I understand people like to socialize. I get that it's the summer. I get that the work environment is not as tough, so you have the flexibility to go out. I get all of that. I really do. But I'm telling you it has to stop. And I'm telling you in plain New York speak, as a born and bred New Yorker, it's stupid what you're doing. It is stupid. Well, that's not a governmentally appropriate word. It's a true word. Don't be stupid. That is good advice in life. Take it from a person who's lived a lot of life. Don't be stupid. What they're doing is stupid and reckless for themselves and for other people. And it has to stop. To the local governments, I've said repeatedly that the local governments are in charge of compliance and enforcement. If young people are going to come out and do something stupid, the local governments have to enforce the law. That's how it works in life. And the police department has to enforce the law. And they are not doing it. And that is their job, and they have to do it. I will tell you what's going to happen. I spoke to a number of restaurant owners yesterday. We've had numerous conversations. The bad restaurant and bar owners are going to make it worse for the good ones. Most restaurants and bars are complying. They're going through a very tough economic situation, but they're living by the rules. The bad ones, who are exploiting the situation and breaking the law, by the way, this is not just morality, they're breaking the law, are going to make it bad for everyone. The local governments are not doing their job. We cannot allow those congregations to continue. If it happens, I'll tell you what's going to happen. We're going to have to roll back the opening plan, and we're going to have to close bars and restaurants. That is what we are going to have to do. So to the local governments, I say, look, you don't want to enforce the law because you think it's politically unpopular, and you don't want to do something that's politically unpopular. I'll tell you what's more politically unpopular. When you're going to have to explain to the people why we had to close all bars and restaurants. That's going to be more politically difficult than telling the NYPD to do their job. This is not a point of sending out the police department to inform young people to wear a mask. They've heard that message. The police department is not there to inform them of mask compliance. Police departments have to enforce the law. They have to enforce the law. That is the only line between anarchy and civilization. They have to enforce the law, and they're not. The bad operators in terms of restaurants and bars, they're going to make it bad for everyone because, and for themselves. We will have to roll back the bar and restaurant opening. If the congregations continue, if the local governments don't stop it, that is what is going to happen. 1 + 1 still equals 2, right? And there's a logical consequence of actions, and that's where we are. That's the first threat. Second is we see the infection rate increasing all across the country. It's a fact. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. The theory that, well, New York is going to be immune from what's happening everywhere in the country, that does not work. We were not immune from what was happening in China and what was happening in Europe when the virus went from China to Europe. And then it came here from Italy and from France and from Spain, and the federal government never knew, and that's how New York got the virus. An outbreak anywhere is an outbreak everywhere. That's the saying that I'm going to put on plaques and give to people. If the virus is going up in the other states, we have a real challenge and a real threat because those people come to New York. We put in place an unprecedented quarantine program. We're enforcing it. But it's virtually impossible to enforce with total certainty. People take trains, people drive. States don't have border control agencies. We don't do border control. When you drive in from another state, you don't show your passport to anyone, right? There is no New York passport. We don't do border control. So that is a very real threat, and I don't see it turning around in the rest of the country anytime soon. That is a predicament that we'll do everything we can to help the other states, and we are, but that is beyond our control.